WildTangent is a familiar name to most people who used a Windows computer throughout the 2000s. It was a company with a gaming service that came pre-installed on many of them. Some of the games provided were made by WildTangent themselves, but others were made by smaller companies. Some of their most notable works included Polar Bowler, Slider, Crystal Maze, and Otto's Magic Blocks. But today we're going to look at another game of theirs that many consider among the best. This is Penguins. Or maybe I guess we should read the title more enthusiastically since it has a big exclamation mark here. This is Penguins. WildTangent really liked Arctic-themed games if the Polar Bowler series is anything to go by. Anyway, we start with this really catchy music, accompanied by penguins that jump in every so often. Now there are a ton of features in this, but let's start by looking at these extremely long instructions. You don't actually have to read every page because you'll find out what to do in the game itself. According to this, a penguin named Ace has gone missing and we have to find him. Well, right away I see we're going against the official description on the WildTangent page. Saying that we join Ace in his escape would imply that we play as him. But actually, you can run the mouse over each penguin to see what its name is. I love that that's a feature because it isn't necessary, but it's still a fun detail. So once we type our name in, we get the instructions again. Darn, didn't even need to read them at the menu. But once we're in, we see how straightforward it is. This army of penguins is marching along, so you drag a cannon onto the screen and watch them launch themselves to the goal. They only really walk in one direction unless you guide them in a different way. They're kinda idiotic, cause sometimes they walk right into danger without knowing it. Hey, natural selection. But this is the general format. You try to guide the penguins to the pipe at the end of each stage, trying to keep as many alive as you can. You can even mess around in each stage to grab coins, giving you money for the gift shop. You get a lot of coins just for completing a level anyway, but it's nice to build up your penguin-y bank account. Also, a few sound effects were used in Otto's Magic Blocks too. That makes me extra nostalgic. But yeah, you use different gadgets to help your penguins make it to the end of a stage. You travel all throughout the zoo, which is visible on this big map, and see all the different gadgets you can utilize. The backgrounds can get pretty creative too, and you can get some really funny animations out of this. Most of the gadgets just fling you one way or another, but some do even sillier things. Like this one that makes your penguins float away in bubbles. The stages can get extremely creative and feel rewarding to figure out. Even if you don't, it's still amusing to watch the penguins blunder in various different ways. But if that's what you want, you can buy extra modes in the shop and just mess around in them. Lower stakes, but just as much amusement. You can even buy costumes and bonus art. The shop is nice to have, and the many different features add so much to this already fascinating game. I should also mention these gift boxes you can find in most stages that give you a new gadget to mess around with. And if you're really stumped, you can press the hint button to see where the gadgets need to go. If you hit it enough times, it'll just outright tell you. It's a very laid-back game that prioritizes your amusement more than it encourages you to win. It's optional, so if you don't care for this aspect, you don't have to use it. Good to have the option though. But to take a closer look at some of these gadgets, they can be amusing to watch, but not always the easiest to use. I don't like this one that launches a penguin because you can only use it once. Once it's used, you have to reset if you didn't use it correctly. I'm not a big fan of the springs either because it can be hard to tell where your penguins are going to land once they bounce on them. And this staircase you can build is fun, but make sure you're absolutely positive you're building it in the right place before you put it down. And we have to mention the zookeeper who steals your penguins if they run into him. It is kind of funny though. Then they wind up in a cage down here. They also go there if they fall over a ledge, so I guess they don't actually die in this. Shame. I also like these star hooks that the penguins can swing on, but sometimes it takes some strategizing to make them work right. And sometimes, you have to have turbo fingers to move gadgets around in a short time frame to ensure the penguins get through the first and immediately get through it in the new spot you move it to. Just make sure you don't randomly throw one in a spot where penguins are going to wind up again. You might want to get one out of the way, but you'll end up ruining the run in the long term. Totally not speaking as someone who actually did this. I know, I'm not very smart. Also, for a side note, this item looks like Egad from Luigi's Mansion. I can't be the only one who thought that. But no matter how challenging the stages can be, this is a really cute and fun little game that you can find yourself amused by for hours. It really holds up to this day, and it's no surprise that it's one of WildTangent's most popular creations. It's never too hard to the point of frustration. It's about having fun and watching penguins do goofy little things. How can you not enjoy it? Now, unfortunately, there is a bit of sad news pertaining to this game. A mobile game called Penguins Escape was released back in 2013, but it's unfortunately lost. Apparently they made it to ride the hype after releasing a Polar Bowler mobile game, though according to this article by Taylor Soper, they didn't disclose any numbers. Suspicious. But frankly, I would have played both a Polar Bowler and a Penguins mobile game. Shame this one is lost. Either way, the original game is still playable on WildTangent today, so you can go back and enjoy all the Arctic goodness your heart desires. WildTangent may not be the same company it used to be, but at least we can always go back and look at gems such as this one. There are many other WildTangent games I'd like to look at on this channel, so maybe we'll get around to those in future videos. But for the time being, be sure to subscribe, follow me on the accounts in the description below, and tune in to our next installment. Thank you for joining me. I will see you in the next memory.